Okay. Appointments Committee, May 29th, 2024. This meeting is being recorded and will be rebroadcast on the Town of Barnstable Government Access Channel in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20. The chair must inquire whether anyone else is recording the meeting, and if so, please make their presence known. No? Okay, roll call.
Councilors Mendez,
Present.
Clark. Here. Turkelson. Here. Burdick.
Present.
Bloom.
Here.
You have full quorum.
Barry Wentworth.
Right here.
Hi, step on up to the firing line.
Sure.
Hi, Barry. I'm Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Hi, Chris. Nice to meet you. Chris, what are you from Tesla? Yes.
I'll shake your hands. Nice
So,
Yes, Charlie.
here.
So I see you're interested in the Manus Main Street,
Yes.
Waterfront Historic District.
Yes.
Okay. My first boilerplate question is always about consensus.
About
Consensus?
consensus.
Yeah. As you know, we have some divisive issues in town.
Yes.
So can you just give us an example in your professional life where you've had to compromise or come to consensus for the overall good of, for the overall good of
I
what you're
see.
trying to accomplish?
I see what you're saying. Well, that could be a big answer for me. I've spent my entire professional career in banking, real estate, and securities industry. My last 30 years have been with the major brokerage houses. I finished with Morgan Stanley. Actually, my last official day is May 31st.
Congratulations.
So, when you talk about consensus, you get, in all of those industries, you always have some pretty significant differences of opinion, particularly when it comes to pocketbook. And I don't think that there's, in the securities industry, there's really no compromise. You have an ethics standard that is not negotiable. And so I would say that was a much easier time for me than back in my real estate days when everything was compromised and everything was a negotiation. So you found it easier to do that. However, I must say that in my personal life, my volunteer experience has been with things like right now, I'm president of the Cape Cod Maritime Museum. And you get very divided opinions on, they know we're right over there. And what should we be for the waterfront? What should we be for representing history? What should we be for Cape Cod? Who should we embrace? We have a wonderful opportunity with young people now who have some very high qualifications, who bring a museum background. And then we have lots of people like myself who come from a business background. And so you want perhaps the bottom line more than you want the vision of the excellent exhibit if the exhibit isn't going to bring in a lot of revenue. So everything's about finding a way to move forward together, but not everybody is agreed. We had tremendous to tell you, this is public information. We recently had a president who resigned. And it was very much over that. It was over not being able to find consensus, and not that there was anything wrong with his strong opinion, but it wasn't shared. And so we found it a better resolution to leave our organization than stay under the stress and the really sometimes uncomfortable situations that trying to find consensus. So happy to dive deeper into any of that for you, but got a lot of years of
No, that's fine. So why Highness Main Street Waterfront?
Well, when I was 13, I told my parents I wanted, if I could make a living on Cape Cod, this is where I wanted to be, and this is where I've been. And I built my first house, walking distance that way at 15 Toby Circle, just off Old Colony. And now what I hope will be my last house is at 16 Wally Court, right over that way, in Hyannis. And my entire career has been here in Hyannis, and primarily on North Street. Started with Merrill Lynch, went to Payne Weber when it was still Payne Weber, and became UBS, and then finished a fabulous career with Morgan Stanley. So my whole professional career was right there. Actually, I don't see anybody that would remember Hyannis Cooperative Bank, but maybe someone does. Okay, so Hyannis Cooperative Bank, I was treasurer 1,000 years ago, over there. So that's it. I was sailor. I raced right out of the Hyannis Yacht Club, kind of aged out of that, but now we race through there. And I love Hyannis.
Council Clark? Oh,
When you going to me?
I can tell that by Chris.
Very love y'all.
Yeah, so. I don't know where to go with the question, because your CV is very clear, your statement is very clear about what what you've been up to and what's going on. You've got a little bit, I always ask about people's personal life, but you've got that in here as well. But so, so you'll be retired as of May 31st or May 30th, whatever day you said it was.
Exactly. I'm basically retired. I'm in the, when they say, your party was.
Yeah. So you're out the door essentially already. But, and you, now is the time to get more involved with this sort of thing, you think? You're feeling like you still have the energy, the bandwidth to take on some new challenges and to give it a shot, something a little bit, municipal,
I can't imagine not.
right?
I've always been interested in the personal development of real estate and have kept it very personal, but have had some wonderful opportunities. I think you saw my back in the 80s when I was in real estate for a very short time. I thought I could do something part-time. I had very young children. I thought I could do real estate part-time. That didn't work out. I ended up having a partner in running a business in East Sandwich, and Betty Allen, who's still in the real estate business, and I did 2 designer show houses for the benefit of the Thornton Burgess. And that's the kind of thing that now I can give my time to the museum. I have a sister who's in Charlottesville, Virginia. We're both alums of the University of Virginia. I serve on a board there. It's the Farmington Historical Society there. So very much interested in history. Digging in, seeing good results. I don't know how else to explain, but when you talk about retirement, I think it's retiring to things that I didn't have enough time to do when I was needed in my career.
Excellent, thank you, that's all for me.
Council Bloom?
Well, I feel the same way Seth did. I really don't, your resume says it all,
Oh, thank you.
and at Wally Lane, that you must have a nice view of Snows Creek.
Very,
Do you?
I was very, very fortunate.
Yeah.
If you know, the building company, E.B. Norris and Son, who is now Craig Ashworth. Mr. Norris built his own home at 16 Wally Court, back in the early 70s. At that time, I was his neighbor at 15 Toby Circle across the water. So when you walk in my front door now, you see,
The house that you.
where I started.
Yeah.
So kind of
Oh, full circle,
full circle,
Yeah.
but
Snows Creek.
he owned a number of lots then,
Yeah.
but he kept, it's just under an acre and a half.
Yeah.
Very fortunate. I have the west side, on the creek and the north side. It's just very, very fortunate.
Well, I don't have any questions to ask them. I think you're a great candidate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council Jefferson?
I guess I'm next. I guess I'm curious if, I know you've been busy, I mean, you have a lot of history, curiosity. And
Oh.
no, but I mean, it's like, I can just tell with your experience that you're steeped in what would be the work of this committee, I guess is what I'm saying.
I love.
So I'm just curious if you have been over time, I know you've been busy, so there's no criticism here, I'm not expecting it. But have you been to the Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District meetings? Have you been following them? Or is this just like, you're like, I'm retired as of May 30th, and this is where I want to be. I'm just curious how familiar you are with this committee.
So I have not been to any meetings, but I do follow the town on the newsletter. I get the newsletter and I read as much as I can that way, but I have not been to any meetings. That is part of what I would do when I was in real estate. One of the things I did was attend all the board of health meetings and all the planning board meetings. Just to know more than I ever could. When I was in the banking business, I got my real estate license, and back then you could sit for your broker's exam, so why wouldn't you? So I got my real estate broker's license so that I could better serve my constituents who were coming to me for financed a number of the big real estate developments, and so I could understand the realtor position. So those were the kinds of meetings I needed to attend. So I have not attended this. Really, a very good friend of mine, and maybe some of you know Ruth Billingham, who's an attorney who has done some work with the town, has been sort of helping me to put my foot forward and get involved.
Well, if it doesn't work out, you have to have a talk with Ruth.
So it's always work.
Thank you.
Awesome. Bye.
Thank you very much. As the other said, very impressive. Life on paper.
But you know, Chris, we like a lot of the same things too.
Yeah, well, we met at Tales of Cape Cod, which features our history. So that the Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission, it looks like a good fit. Especially now, your references here to historical preservation, the renovation of these two buildings. How were you involved with that?
So in Sandwich, my partner and I bought two historic homes. Both needed renovations. We were not in a position to restore them according to the definition of restoration, so we did renovations. But we did so with the consultation of a lot of the antique dealers in town, and of course, Sandwich has a lot of very good resources for the history. And one was the Stephen Wayne House, which is on Old County, and the other was right across from diagonal across the street from Dan and Webster. But it was researching the properties to try to maintain as much as we could the integrity of the properties. And then rather than, you're probably familiar with the designer show houses where designers come in and each take a room. We had the antique dealers of town come in and each take a room. So they knew, and some of them being in Sandwich, they really had fun with what do they call it? The baby's room, nursery, but they called it like the keeping room or something. They knew all of that, and they knew what was most appropriate for the two eras. So we learned a lot about, and if you ever had the chance to meet Betty Allen, she's just one of the best minds in historic kind of preservation of antique homes in Sandwich. So it was a treat. It was an opportunity. We didn't have the staff to open it up to the public. So we went to the Thornton Burgess and said, you have about 150 volunteers. You run it for your fundraiser. And we left, so we opened it, each one was open for a summer, and the Thornton Burgess used it for their major fundraiser. And we, of course, got some nice publicity and everything. So that's the kind of thing that it just, you start with a little idea and
It sounds like you know how to get a keen sensitivity to the historical character.
I love it.
And
Yeah.
from your volunteer experience at looks like you dive in and then rise to the top for most of your organization. So, heads off to you for not only your professional, but your business.
Thank you. And I love being here. I love the community. I love Cape Cod, and I love the else.
Shows you you're invested in the area and you would know how to preserve the. I mean, that's Main Street waterfront historic.
Let me ask you another question. Do you by any chance have an active real estate license?
No, I do. And one of my things for retiring from Morgan Stanley is that I also had to really push my securities license.
Thank you so much for coming in. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Now, would you like me to stay or am I?
It's up to you. You can stay, you can leave, you can, whatever you want to do.
Thank you very much.
Leave if you want.
Okay.
I know you've
I
got a
have
busy
some-
life.
I have some wishes to play.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
You can tell I'm very excited.
Eileen Elias?
She'll probably be here around 5:30. She had has a work commitment.
All right. Steve Scott Schmidt.
Might as well take the warmed up seat.
Yeah.
Or the hot seat.
Yeah.
Scott.
Nice to
Chris,
meet you.
Chris, Scott. Kristen.
Hey,
Good to
Scott.
see you.
See you again.
Thank you. Thank you so much
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
for other times.
Councilor Burdick, we'll start with you.
Start with me. Oh, no. All right. So as I said about our last interview, Terry, your CV is even more extensive and well put together.
Well, it's actually a little behind on some of my local stuff, but that's okay.
No, that's all right. It's
I
a lot.
apologize about that.
That's all right. It's a lot to look at. But anymore, and I don't know that I can bear
It's
it.
either embarrassing or humbling. one or the other.
No, so like I said previously, what I generally tend to ask about is the person rather than the CV, because I can read that, of course. And they're gonna ask you all that stuff. But so I'm just curious, I noticed a lot of your experiences in Texas,
Yeah.
and what brought you to Cape Cod, or what made you leave Texas?
Actually, full circle, sort of, I grew up in Gloucester, I went to Gloucester High and graduated, back, actually, when I was in college, I didn't know that, and we used to come, I don't know. I bartended one summer at Pufferville, which I don't think is here anymore, but for better or worse. And those of us that have those stories will just
Let them lay
duck
there.
our heads down a little bit. It is what it is, right?
I remember it well.
What happens in Pufferville stays in Pufferville. So anyway, I got involved in coming down here in the summers, splitting my time between two different caves. And then when I got out of college, my dad was a chiropractor in Gloucester, Manchester, Mass, so Magnolia in Manchester. I went to chiropractic university in Texas with no intention of staying. I figured that was the best university for the profession. But one thing led to another, and just sort of blossomed, and my career just sort of expanded there. I went back to school, obviously several times, then went back to become a nurse and a nurse practitioner, and then went to med school in the Caribbean, and when I got out, kind of compressing the timeline there, I took a job with, I would always be working with law enforcement as a healthcare provider, mainly on a volunteer level. Particularly with Dallas SWAT team. And I got a tip from a friend who suggested I talk to Homeland Security, and at the time I was also included in another time with CIA, which is an odd thing because they tell you congratulations, you're in the process of being vetted for this healthcare position, but we're going to need 3 or 4 or 5 professional references, but you're not to tell anybody that you're Like, how can you, I don't understand. Side
Are you in
note.
trouble now?
Yeah, I don't know, I feel, I might still maybe, but, so, I got hired by, after a lot of background and pretty extensive, high level clearance with Homeland Security. And then they detailed me to Border Patrol, which was interesting. I was initially starting in the southern border of Texas, flying back during the week and, working in the ER and urgent care and various jobs, and paying my medical school bills and right. Then, if that wasn't kind of crazy enough down there, you know, we're gonna double our best and step and stuff. I mean, then COVID. And so the government was a little bit concerned about flying for various reasons. Personnel back and forth during that time frame. Risks were high for everything. And so they offered me to take over and start a position in the forward place in Arizona. Okay, it didn't seem like on paper good because my parents had just retired and moved out to start, so let's go do it. Nobody knew what was going on during COVID. Nobody knew what their jobs were gonna be like. Nobody knew anything, you know? So we drove out there and I loved that for the next year or so. But we kept coming back here to the Cape to just debrief, to just like, my wife was working in trauma. She's a ICU trauma nurse. Actually, she's a nurse practitioner residency here. But we would just decompress and fly here. It was like our place. And a year and a half ago, we just had like this weird epiphany when we were here in meetings. And she started to actually break down and cry meeting. And I was, what did I do? What did I do this time? And she's like, I just don't want to not come back. And so we packed up our 5 rescue cats, 2 French bulldogs, and rented the first place we could find. It wasn't easy. Got a job in community medicine here at Harbor Health, which is not an easy job. And we moved there. We rented, and then a few weeks ago, or I'm sorry, a month ago or so, we bought a house in Centerville, from safely. And I mean, I just can't believe that this is our life.
Well, there you
That
go.
we are, you know, and I'm gonna work until I die, so because that's what I love to do. But I mean, we just like we were sitting on our back patio last night and going, "Is that impossible yesterday?" I don't know. I have to look up, you know, last year what they were, but I'm like, you know, is that a turkey in my yard? Look at these flowers. Everything's in high definition here compared to the desert.
Right.
So emotionally, that's my battle.
Right, great. Well, thank you very much. Thanks, Lorraine. You're next.
Okay. Well, your resume speaks for itself. I think you make a fantastic contribution to the town and those and the board of health. That's really all I have to say.
The town's given a lot to me, and I would feel a sense of guilt by not repaying something. I mean, I guess I am in some sense with taxes. It's not the cheapest place to live. But
Yeah.
probably should have figured that one out ahead of time before I jumped in the rider vans. Thank you.
Well, yeah, we need all the doctors we can get.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm finding that out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask the same question I asked Perry. Have you attended or watched or read any of the minutes or agendas for the Board of Health meetings to get a sense of what goes on in these meetings?
Attended, no, watched, yes. Seems like they, are seeing a lot of septic, issues and things of that nature. Obviously important, but it seems to be is going back on your files on your website. So that's what, seems to be a dominant, I mean, I'm looking for any other thing that I can sort of sink my teeth into as well that might be familiar in terms of what we did that, as you know, I was the chair of the board of Dallas County. And we had various things, septic was not a recurring thing, but,
What would have been some of the issues that would have been recurring? I'm just curious for the comparison of like that experience. Cause
You
I
mean, what do
thought I
we-
remembered seeing that in here and I was flipping through trying to find that, so.
you mean, like,
kinds of things
what are we
with
doing?
this would you,
Well-
your Board of Health have been,
well, number one, we were an advisory board, which, operates in a different, obviously. But we work very close with our council and the chair would obviously communicate. A lot of, mental health, a lot of homelessness. I don't think compared to, Hyannis or to Central Cape, that we would compare. Helps create, smoking bans, anything from mosquito, West Nile spraying issues, property. When you get into property and zoning and things like that, I would say some of the things that we were asked to look at in terms of request review. Chemical spraying versus not, smoking versus not. A lot of business owners involved in a lot of the meetings that we come into request. And then COVID, which sort of rerouted the whole process of how we meet anyway. And everybody was reeling. And it just seemed at that point, whatever was important kind of got pushed to the side, so. First 2 years on the board, I really took a learning position. I feel like it wasn't an alternate, but it was full time, but it was more of a, I'm gonna try to listen to and learn, and make an opinion when asked, but. And then I gradually sort of got more confident with the process and was elected to chair. But yeah, those are the things. Now we also dealt with, public health reports in restaurants and sanitary issues, the nitty-gritty stuff that, and then, I guess that would be kind of closely related to septic in a way. But yeah, I mean, things that were anywhere from immediate concern to long term.
thank you.
You're welcome.
So far.
Thank you very much. Quite the impressive, CV as, Councilor Burdick mentioned. And, glad you found your way back to New England.
I am too.
I was like, we, appreciate this area for what it offers. It seems like the Board of Health that you served on in, is it Texas?
Yeah.
Is formatted differently from our Board of Health, which is a regulatory board. So it has, authority different from those advisory.
Yeah, that I understand and
You'd probably be educated to look up the code. I don't know if you have done that.
Yeah.
To see what their responsibilities are.
Yeah.
Things that are, I believe, granted by the state.
Mhm.
So it is, a matter of enforcing, food service, regulations and reviewing them. And the septic and sewer issue in our town has been at the forefront, because we've had a, increasing problem with nitrogen level. So the mandates for homeowners that hook up to sewer is,
Yeah.
is an issue, and granting, causes
Yeah.
for, homeowners while the sewer, project advances is something that I believe that they consider.
Yeah.
So that's something to.
Yeah, in fact, I watched, my wife was interested in, we were watching the community board and community meetings over in Nantucket where they were recently discussing the expansion of the airport and how the pros and cons of argument of how that building the berm affected the general properties of the homeowners. It was quite a bit of intense activity. It was a good thing to watch. But in response to what you were mentioning, the two differences between Dallas and here, this is sort of feel like the 6 years on the committee there, being an advisory position was a good training system or farm system for stepping into something that actually would ask for the board member to take part in the change that was actually enacted by rural or state authority or whatever the authority is at that position of the board. So, yeah, I would be comfortable with that process.
And I think that the meetings are at 3 in the afternoon, is that correct? Cindy?
Yeah.
So with being a doctor, would you be able to accommodate those meetings?
Yeah, there are just some schedule flexibilities that I have. Typically my days on call or admin, paid admin, if you will, on Mondays, so it would be up to me to be able to just go to my directors and say, these are the days I need to have some flexibility today. And for instance, to be here today, I said I'll pick up a Saturday morning.
I see.
It's doable, and they know it's important to their doctors and providers, and they're gonna. Yeah, thank you.
Well, I don't have to ask you my bullet point question because you've worked in law enforcement, you're a doctor, so.
And I just finished the Barnstable,
So-
that was a fun I recommend if you get an opportunity to do the Citizens Academy.
But my question is this. In your limited time as a police officer.
Yeah.
What do you think you can bring to this community, from what you've learned? And how you accomplish?
Oh, man. You said that with a desire for me to say yes.
Absolutely.
Let me tell you this, by default, of course, when you live somewhere, difficult when you grew up a diehard Sox fan in the past, it's just with but you will love this. So they were my plan B team, right? After the pass. And of course, the year we came here, everything that was great left. Switched all of a sudden to, anyway, my understanding. I'll get right back to your answer, but I was just in a 2-year post at the university. We were in Baylor Medical Center. The building was owned by Jerry Jones, attached to, in Frisco, the Cowboys practice facility. So our office looked down on the Ford Center where they practice in the turf. And we, of course, had unique opportunity to work with the athletes, like veterans and wounded warriors and times. But perspective to the board, maybe a different insight. I think anything that becomes too homogeneous, maybe not a good thing. So maybe the fact that I'm maybe 57, but it's a fresh set of eyes to come in and maybe look at it, either the old problems or the current ongoing concerns. I think that type of inclusion that I would bring might be the thing that would be my value. I look at treating a daily professional aspect. I look at treating the body. The body could be a singular entity, or it could be a quorum, or it could be a community. I think I would always do the same thing that I did for the individual, as an organism, as a group, or the body at large.
Great answer.
I might trademark that because it just came to me on.
It's being taped.
Because my wife isn't gonna believe I came up with anything. I don't know.
You can find it online.
Oh, great. Maybe not.
All right. Anybody, anything else? No. All right.
Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks so much.
My pleasure. Thank you. It was a good experience.
All right.
Nice
Thank
to
you.
meet you. Now that you have the opportunity to enjoy it.
I know. I'm going to get my dogs out. I'm gonna. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Take care.
Take care. Thank you.
Anna Pogomaya?
Ina,
Ina?
yes.
Oh, okay. Hi, Ina, I'm Jeff. Nice to meet you.
Kristen.
Charlie.
Hi, Charlie.
Seth, nice to meet you, Ina.
Thank you, Ina.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming in. We appreciate it. Council Burdick?
Me first again? All
Yeah,
right.
today's your lucky day.
Thank you. Well, hi, Ina.
Hi,
How are you today?
very good, very exciting. I'm happy that I actually was the third person because it's incredible to see other people's perspective. know, how they think, what they think, because I only moved to Cape recently, 3 years ago, and I'm a first generation immigrant, and, for me, listening to other people is what makes me tick, because I love ideas, I love personalities, and it's always exciting to, to see what the plan is for other communities.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
No, of course, it never hurts, right, to be,
Yeah,
I always like to have people go ahead of me. So that I don't be nervous, and then I get, the people wear themselves out on people ahead of me, and then by the time I get up, they're like, okay, who are you? And I'm like,
Yeah, I like more last.
yeah, me too. But, so again, you've got a nice CV too, which tells me a lot about what you've been up to, at any rate, from a professional perspective. But, I like to have, like, with the other people who are here today, a little bit about your personal life. And it's interesting, you said you're first generation American, and a little bit about where you came from. and all
so,
that.
I moved to the United States 25 years ago. My daughter was 3 months old, so when we moved here for work, I started, with the company in Beverly, and we lived on the North Shore for a long time. My daughter went to, Ipswich High School, it's been a long journey. Then we became citizens back in 2011. And to me, the most important part of being an immigrant is, staying in touch with community. My family is from Ukraine, and the whole situation in Ukraine, some of my family is still there in Odessa. My aunt is there. So to me, working for the community has always been a great part of my life, but recently, since the war started, getting involved in public health issues, sending help with medication, and working with Sunflower for Ukraine, the Boston nonprofit organization. It's been a huge part for me, because this way, it connects my American background and my Ukrainian background. And to me, it's important, not only do public health at work, where I mostly deal with, IT systems, immunization, stuff like that. But being on the ground, knowing what people need, how can I help? How can I organize people to, to deliver? So, my daughter is now in law school in Louisiana. She just started her first day at the public defender office, working for the appeals court. So she's very much into the public service too, I guess runs in the family. So my husband works as an IT person for IBM. We bought a house in Marston's Mills. We absolutely love it. It's a small house, but we really adore the neighbors, the community. And I've been going to graduate school. I'm graduating on June 7th with a degree in public health. And my colleagues and my family were joking, what are you gonna do without homework? You need to find something. And I've been actually thinking about the Barnstable Board of Health for about 2 years. I've been watching the YouTube videos. I've been looking at what kind of problems and issues are coming up with Title V, with all the regulations. And it struck me that, sometimes the conversations are really contentious, and, it's difficult to stay civil and to actually think about how you're going to resolve the problem when the problem arrives, instead of going back and forth with the conflict. And to me, it's important to look at the alternatives. And I think that what the board is doing really, really well is staying civil and making sure we're looking at the alternatives. And at the same time, we're looking at is it still gonna, be public health, compliant? Are we hurting the environment? Are we hurting the community if we're looking at this alternative solution or not? So to me, like this collaboration in making sure that, you know, people who are coming to the Board of Health with their issues, that they see us at the Board of Health, like the Board of Health is not like this up there, some sort of a board that is against their interests, but seeing us as like, we're here to offer solutions. We're here if you're, I've heard a lot, like I was watching the latest YouTube video and there was this concern like about the septic system variants and how it's difficult, how it's so expensive. And the lady was saying, it's expensive, I cannot afford it. And she was desperate. And I liked how, you know, the solution would be, look at this grant, look at this program. We can help. If you don't know how we can help, then we can offer solutions. Here's this, this, and that. So to me, that's important. Not just say, no, you cannot do that because you hurt public health, environment, or, you know, but to actually, here's the plan. We can work out with you so we can all come to a conclusion that brings us together instead of.
Well, there you go. Thank you. No, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You answered about 6 different questions. I got nothing.
Thank you.
I had 6 questions and they're all answered now. It says in your letter, you say that you have extensive experience in with health agencies in Vermont and Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little clues to, you know, what sort of stuff you do?
So, my first experience, my first agency, was the Vital Records, births, deaths. I was working on outsourcing death system, and when we were implementing it back in 2012, we actually talked to every town hall clerk, every funeral home in the state. We were literally going to clerks conferences. We were talking to town clerks. We were doing the onboarding and rollout of the system. So to me, that was the first exposure to actually like how big we are as a state and how different the town clerks are. Like the set of problems is completely different for, obviously, for Cambridge and for Barnstable. And to me, like, you know, the listening sessions with them were the most influential on me, because I don't think I was ready, you know, to talk to different people on different levels at that time. And it was lessons learned on, you know, how people can be happy with, you know, with a new system. They don't like that, you know, they have to go through the trainings, there are issues, there are defects in the system. So like doing lessons learned, talking to people, that was a great experience for the Vital Records. And then my next big project was immunization system, and I personally worked on the school module where we incorporated schools, school nurses and school systems into the state system, immunization system. And it was such a relief for schools that they have the bi-directional connection with the state where they can request the immunization records, they can provide the records, they have the full picture. And during COVID, we just realized how this groundwork is like serving us the exact way that we planned to, because with COVID vaccinations, with vaccine clinics, where you have to report all the immunizations to the registry, it was a huge deal that we have this in place both at the state level and like in every single school and every single town. It was really a good experience.
Thank you. I really like your perspective as an immigrant. And I also really appreciate, you have a focus on making the people who come to the board feel like they're being heard. And I really like that. Instead of just the board saying, you can't do that, you know. Making people feel like they're heard.
It strikes me that, you know, nowadays Cape Cod is very diverse. We used to think that, you know, it's very, you know, we're all the same, but no, we're growing so diverse. There are so many immigrants in the community, Hyannis. Like, I know a lot of people from all sorts of backgrounds, from the Latinx community, from obviously Ukrainian community, and it's all coming together. And like, I love how the town is adapting to it. It's not like we're just watching it, but like town is actually reaching out and adapting to the changing community here. So it's really inspiring. Is the right word probably.
Thank you.
So Jefferson?
I don't say this very often, but I really feel like you've covered a lot of things. You know, between what you've written here, but more so just the engagement here, you know, I got a real sense of your passion for people and systems and how those things come together. So I don't have any direct questions, but it's been a pleasure to get to know you. And it's been a pleasure to know you all.
Austin Barr?
I too am inspired by you. And to hear your passion. When you said you now live in Marston's Mills, so how long have you been in Barnstable?
So we moved here in 2021 during COVID. One of my closest friends is actually an ICU nurse at Cape Cod Hospital. And we've been like sort of together in this experience, and she was shot during that time. And you know, we've been thinking about, you know, how public health not only affects, like, you know, the community, like the regulations or, you know, the COVID restrictions, but how it affected the healthcare force on Cape Cod, all the nurses, all the doctors, all the administration staff at the hospital, you know, how overwhelmed, how incredibly hard that was on them. And like, you know, thinking about the other side of the equation, like not only just like, oh, we have this community COVID regulations, immunizations, but also what can we do for the doctors? What can we do for the nurses at the hospital? How can we make life easier for them? Like any regulations on that? Can we just make it easier? Like, it's interesting. I was reading Reddit, Cape Cod subreddit on Reddit yesterday. And one of the nurses at Cape Cod Hospital mentioned how she gets out of her night shift and she can't get food delivery and everything is closed. Like the Stop and Shop, she gets out at 5 a.m. The Stop and Shop and like all other stores is still closed. She's tired. She wants to go back and sleep. And like at night, it's hard to get anything delivered to Cape Cod Hospital. And so I started thinking, like, you know, this is an issue. Like our nurses are like having those problems with basic food delivery. And she's like, I can't really cook because I'm so tired all the time. And I just want to get home and eat something. And it struck me like, you know, public health should think about that too, because that's a problem for us as a community that, you know, we maybe think about, like when we talk about food regulations and, you know, restrictions like on hours of operations or something. Maybe, you know, we can think of something that would help our healthcare workers in this regard. So it's like always the small things, that matter, so.
I appreciate that. You bring a different perspective not being a doctor.
Yeah.
From the health sector in your experience with immunizations and all. And I appreciate that you took the time, that you have taken the time to watch the Board of Health meetings to see what kind of issues they deal with. Before I give up my time, what is the name of that organization that you said helps the Ukrainians in Boston?
The sunflower for Ukraine,
Sunflower.
sunflower for Ukraine, yeah.
Thank you.
I got nothing. Just a quick comment. You're a heck of an advocate. And as Councilor Clark said, with your background from where you're from, you bring a unique perspective that too many people don't have. And I want to thank you for coming in. And, you know, I'm sure we can find something for you.
Thank you so much.
All
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks
Thanks again.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Handshake. Handshake. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Very nice
Thank
to meet you.
Thanks, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
The one and only Eileen Elias. I'm Jeff, by the way. Nice to meet you.
Kristen, I'm Kristen.
Nice to see you. Seth, nice to see you.
This was everybody. Councilor Burdick.
Me again, every time this meeting. This is great.
From now on.
Well, that's fine. I don't.
From now on.
Yeah, I can do it. Just open right up. So nice to meet you. I have seen you a number of times at our council meetings since I've been on it, making all kinds of nice commentary on various topics. Is the No Place for Hate, that's the one you're from? That's right, I thought so. Well, thank you all for coming. It's always nice to hear from you. So from, I don't have as much on you on paper as I did for all the people.
That's all you asked.
Yeah, that's all. No, some,
I'm
I'm sure you could have. Some people just, they like to do that, obviously, they put it in there and throw the whole book at you, but that's fine, I'm just curious. So tell me a little bit about just what I, just get to know you kind of stuff. For me, thank you.
Thank you. I've been a resident with my husband and family on the Cape for about 33 to 35 years. And during this time, I was really a commuter. I worked in both Boston and then from working as a deputy commissioner from mental health, went on to work in Washington, D.C. And my family stayed here and I went back and forth. So my husband would joke and he had this drive for me Monday morning and would return Wednesday night or Thursday night, depending. And in Washington, I was the deputy for the Office of Disability for the Health and Human Services. On the Cape, I've actually retired to.
Yeah.
Now, whatever you call retirement. Yes, I'm the chair for the Barnstable. And it began when I had a very serious car accident, went back and forth between DC and here, and I'm here today. And out of that, I knew I needed to do something because I knew I was environment that had a purpose. And that led to Barnstable in the place for hate. And it's been in existence 4.5, 5 years, somewhere in there. And people have stayed in this room. And if I can say, purpose is really in its role here for the Cape. So although its emphasis is Barnstable, we are doing a lot of work. Most recently, 2 community meetings where we opened them up to the whole community. And we had youth, seniors and adults attend on their experiences with faith and their recommendations that could become an action. So, I could just keep talking.
No, sure.
But
What, I had, so for your original training, was it medicine?
I have a master's in education.
Oh, that's what that,
In
MED.
counseling, psychology,
Yeah.
rehabilitation.
And your positions in Washington, it was an appointed position?
Yes,
Who appointed you? Or what president, what administration?
well, indirectly, I worked under two different health and human service secretaries. The last was with Charlie Baker when he was, actually, I had a, when he was secretary before becoming governor.
Right. Well, there you go, that's cool. All right, that's it, thank you very much, I appreciate it, that's all I have today.
Also,
Sure. I see that you've listed housing as your number one choice. And disability commission, number two. Council on Aging. So I'd be interested to make sure that you're happy in your top choices. Rather than the ones that are kind of lower. So you would be happy in housing and disability?
Yes.
Yeah.
And to your question, which is important, I want to get my hands in the bricks, with either or any, in making the transition from working to retirement. I love to cook, I love to bake, etc. That's not a given choice. And that's what I'm wanting to maintain. And so regarding housing, I feel through going to the place for hate, it's really addressing the need for housing that's affordable. And cuts across the continuum, not those costs wise and availability. And with disability, the challenges here in the Cape are I'm going to use the word immense. And I'm not just talking about accessibility. I'm really talking about people understanding that when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, disability, people with disability, part of it, we're talking about the whole education. And individuals who are friends, and people I know, in the population.
It's also nice to finally meet another person who has an MED in counseling psychology. I don't find many people with those degrees.
I guess when I went to school, that was a popular degree. But, whatever is, it's become a whole other approach. Yes.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, I had, so the housing committee has not met for a year and tonight was their first meeting. And I just attended part of that meeting because it happened right before this meeting. So I'm curious if you were following the housing committee prior to it kind of running off the rails. Is that something that you are actively going to the meetings or watching the meetings, or is this desire to be in the housing committee that's being resurrected? A new passion coming out of somewhere, just trying to get a sense.
Elizabeth Dickinson, part of Barnstable, was a member of Barnstable, North Carolina. In her discussion for that, she was absolutely frank about where the committee is or what needs to be done. Two, my whole attention to housing has been there throughout my career. When I first became commissioner of mental health, the whole objective at that time was to close state facilities, state hospitals. And the history of closing facilities. And the uproar was huge. And I took a position where prior to the chief of the commissioners had been fired. If they didn't get it, to be frank. And what I said was, nobody leaves that facility unless they have a place to live. And no one can be discharged to the street unless there's a reason that is understood. It was the individual's request, and that was presented to me as a commission. And that, so that the whole homelessness issue really was not a factor during the commission. Although I took a lot of heat for what occurred before.
And as far as listening to Elizabeth Jenkins kind of give you a perspective and knowing that the committee hasn't been in service for a year, if I waved my magic wand and I made you chair today, what do you see as maybe one or two most important things that you think this committee needs to do? I mean, I recognize it hasn't been in existence really for a year, so it's not like you're changing course because it hasn't been doing anything. But if you were to come on to this committee, having your experience, which sounds vast and interconnected to the mental health aspect of what you've been dealing with for so many years, if I said, what are one or two things that you could bring right in the forefront that you think that our town could benefit from, what would those be?
First of all, thank you for my guidance. And two, it's, the first thing is having the people to work, who understand the issue. And that make sure that the committee consists of individuals who understand the challenges. Number two, then, is to do an analysis of the housing needs and not assume. And so have frank data so that when you, and then here's where I'm coming from, how I've always worked. Have the analysis from a survey or however that data is attained. And then we will document that and how, and the action plan that needs to then be developed and how that's going to affect the current challenges of housing in this area.
Well, I hope that perspective would be welcomed in that, having watched the meeting and obviously being new to town council myself, I mean, it's like drinking water from a fire hose. So, I mean, I'm learning lots of things and obviously, attending the meeting and seeing how hamstrung the committee has been not being in service for a year and kind of how the issues are all intertwined and all the information, how much information the housing committee would need to know. And to have that kind of, just let's sit down and talk about our perspectives. It actually sounds refreshing because I think when you have a committee that hasn't been working and you don't know what your perspective is or yours, there's not always an opportunity to have those kinds of discussions. And you're kind of straight into like, here's the document, look at it, let's see. And it's like, you don't know where everybody's perspective is. So, I mean, it sounds like that would be very refreshing. I don't know if that's a possibility because I'm not part of the committee and I don't really know how that
No, you're
works.
absolutely right. In fact, I left the meeting that I had participated on today, which was rather than, let's just brainstorm. And out of that brainstorming comes your plan. It may be a prior plan and yeah, we've got to understand it, but it may not. If aspects of it may still be valid, but you gotta really think beyond the box.
Yeah, and housing is impacted by lots of things, infrastructure, water resources. I mean, it's not just a single thing, mental health. I mean, there's so many things that go into that one topic. We could be here all day talking about. I'll stop there.
I was in a meeting, weeks ago. And however, I'll take any opportunity I can get. I said, excuse me, I just want to talk about the sewer issue that you're talking about as a barrier to housing. It need not be a barrier. There are all these new ways to address the issues of how do you get rid of waste from an individual home. And if you don't have the sewer system built in, there's a way of using such that the waste can be used and collected for gardening or etc. There's a way to catch the liquid sewer factor and bring it and work with the town and how it's delivered. And there are towns across this country that are now doing this. And so what I'm saying is, think out of the box. It's, that's the housing piece. I know where I live, and I live in West Barnstable. One would say, oh, you can't, it's about marshland, you can't live there, you know, you can't build. Yes, you can, but it has to be, we look at it in another creative way, because of the separate storage job. Thank you.
Council Doc?
Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Eileen, for coming and showing your interest in investing in our town. And you have already, and I appreciate that. We do have, in addition to the resurrected housing committee, a new ad hoc housing committee that with the councilors and some residents. Do you plan to attend those? Because it looks like we're putting a lot of energy to address the complex housing issue as council. You plan to attend those ad hoc meetings because I think you have a lot to offer.
Is the internet back on?
Back on.
All right, good to go. Okay, so anyways, I spoke to the chairman of this committee. And he said that he's on the committee. He does a good job. He has no problem with him being reappointed, and he brings an important perspective to the committee. So just thought I should share that.
And who's that again?
Make it serious.
Mike Sims.
I have raised questions because he had so many absences. That 54% is fine. But that is fine.
And as we talked about, we don't know why they were absent.
Yeah.
So. Something for everybody's, marinate over.
Just a point of clarification for the Board of Health, did you want me to call in the people that are up for reappointment for interviews before you make decisions on the new applicants that are submitted? There are 3 individuals up for reappointment, which you have not met.
So just so that I'm clear, because I don't have my other notes, there are no current openings on the Board of Health.
No.
So if we wanted to place 1 or 2 of these people on there, it would mean the people that are up for reappointment are not reappointed.
Correct.
And I would feel comfortable making that decision only after I've met the other people, because I don't know the other people, and I think that would only be fair.
So I can schedule them for your next appointments committee meeting, the 3 that are up for reappointment. And then you can get to know them and then make a decision after that. Because everybody stays in their current positions, even though their term expires June 30th. Everybody stays there until they're either reappointed or replaced. So you won't disrupt anything if nobody gets reappointed by June 30th. It's not the end of the world, so. And just so you also know, on the Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission, there are 2 alternate positions available, not just the one with the Board of Real Estate License active. There's also an alternate member, because there was a recent resignation.
But that license is if.
Only
Yeah.
if somebody applied within.
Yeah.
Within the time frame with an active real estate license, or this committee can choose to wait, which you have for the 30 days. And reappoint and appoint somebody that doesn't have an active license, but has the background and experience in real estate. And that's according to the code.
And again, just so I'm clear, we need to fill one position on that committee
Two,
to.
one is a regular alternate,
Mhm.
and one is an alternate member holding a board of real estate license.
And these two people, we have anyone else that's also applied for this, because I feel like because of the ad hocs, my brain can't remember who we saw when. Imagine that. Or do
No.
we have other people that have applied for this position?
No. I had, Mr. Schwab applied, but he sent an email asking to withdraw. So that's why your appointments committee agenda says original posted on 5/22, updated on 5/28 to remove Mr. Schwab for his request by email, which I have the email if you guys can see it.
Can we get the year's worth of attendance for the Board of Health members?
Sure,
I think she gave them to us.
I did, but
Okay.
I'll get it again.
I'll find it.
That's not a problem.
What do you guys think about just moving the two that have applied to these positions? Get them off with Conrad
Carrie,
and what do you guys think about just moving them?
Harry and Conrad.
Yeah,
they both have real estate experience, but not active license, so you can put one in the Board of Realtors estate license, and you can put one as just a regular alternate.
and don't forget, Mr. Watson owns business there, has gotten awards, so on and so forth. Very well respected as far as Main Street business goes.
We have no other people, just those two, then let's get it done.
That's what I, let's just go.
Great.
I move that we recommend Harry Wentworth for the alternate member holding the Board of Real Estate license. The term expiring 2026.
All those in favor?
Oh, we need a second.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. Very good. Does anybody have a nomination for Conrad Watson?
I'll nominate Conrad Watson.
Second. All those in favor? Passes.
When we consider the Board of Health reappointment, can we find out how long those current members have been serving?
Yes,
Please.
I'll get that information for you and have it for when I schedule them for the next meeting, so you can have attendance record as well as, how long they've served.
And when we're looking at the housing committee, the disability commission, do we have any other people that have applied, or Eileen is?
No, she is it, tell you who, as far as applications that we have not looked at. There's no other, these are all the active applications that we have not interviewed yet, and there is nobody on any of those. They're all for, CPAC. Let's see, waterways, cultural council, recreation, water quality, which no longer is in existence. JFK Memorial. And the last 5 applications are for the open position on the airport commission.
And
We have 5 for that one.
in this housing committee position, it says an alternate member to term expiring 6/30/25, and then you have 2 regular members are up for reappointment.
Correct. So right now, there's 2 regular members that terms expire in 24 that are up for reconsideration. And then there's one vacancy currently right now with nobody in it as an alternate member to a term expiring 6/30/2025.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to, appoint Eileen Elias to the Housing Committee for an alternate member to a term expiring 6/30/2025.
Second.
All those in favor? Unanimous.
Oh, really?
Vacancy, disability.
Yes. Mr. Rutherford will be a vacancy as of June 30th, and there's two others after that. Chris Bartley resigned, and, they had two vacancies, so that
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Needs members.
All right, I'll nominate.
You should do it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Or if not, she can say no.
So what do we talk about?
I nominate Eileen Elias for the Disability Commission.
Second.
I agree with that, yeah.
All those in favor? Unanimous.
How many slots do we have on the disability?
There'll be one vacancy, Mr. Rutherford, in June 30th of this year. Chris Bartley resigned, and there were two vacancies prior to that, so there will be four. But then after we place her in there, there'll be three.
Thanks for all this homework.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to see, I know. In a slot somewhere too.
I think on her resume, on her application, didn't she put disability?
Yes, she did.
Yes, she did. She put Board of Health, Disability, and Trust Fund Advisory.
All right, strong disability.
I think we should wait to interview the other Board of Health people, because wasn't her first request Board of Health?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we need
I know.
a need for disability.
But the question is that we haven't interviewed the other Board of Health people. What if we like wanna put her on? I don't know if she expressed being on two committees, is what I'm saying.
I thought it was really interesting, but I think that the strong candidates for Board of Health.
Oh, I do too, but I'm just going by need, but I mean, it's up to you guys, you guys want to do it, it's fine with me. I'm just trying to fill needed positions. Yeah, we can get to the next meeting.
Maybe we can advertise like we did the last time at the council meeting. That goes in.
Either that or we
You
can
can also
ask
reach
her.
out to her if she's
Reach
not
out to her.
appointed to the
Yeah.
Board of Health, would she consider the Disability Commission? And
I think she checked off, didn't she?
She did,
She did.
Yeah.
and she did not specify 1, 2, or 3 on her application. It was just 3 check marks. I know.
Could you reach out to her?
Sure.
And ask what she would think about that, and then we can always circle back on this.
Then you can always, if she has a preference,
Yeah,
as
she
to
has a
1, 2, or
preference.
3.
Does she only want to be on one committee? I just don't want to overburden somebody and then
Yep.
have them be.
Does Board of Health meet twice a month?
Because they're like.
It depends on their workload. They can,
That's the thing about some of these regulatory committees like Board of Health, and twice a month.
depends on the workload.
So that's,
Yeah, so I think we need to get a sense that's gonna work for her, because there's no sense of putting her there if she can't be.
And ask her which one she prefers.
Absolutely. I will do that tomorrow.
All right, what do you guys want us in another meeting?
And then the last one you've got is Natalie for the ZBA, who has put in, and you've interviewed her before.
And we have other ZBA people that came from the Citizens Training Academy. I feel like maybe there was.
No, that was CFAC from Citizens Academy. I don't have anybody in here for zoning. No,
New interviews, you mean?
I'm sorry?
People who were to interview? There are no people to interview
No.
up to this point.
No,
There's
there's, I have,
we had,
right, I have 8 applications, but
Right,
none of them are zoning.
and then we interviewed 3 people for this spot, 5. Right? Palmazola, Rod Tavano, and then Natalie.
Yeah, way back.
Yes, months ago.
So why don't we, instead of voting on that stuff today, why don't we hold all the applications so we can talk about it in our next meeting? Instead of
We
trying,
have 3 people applying for 2 positions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we need
Okay.
to make it.
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
All right.
And I just want to say that, I was checking with legal about my, recusal. And I never should have recused myself. There was no reason to recuse myself.
From,
No.
Now.
Okay.
From Eric Schwab.
okay,
So,
well, you haven't acted on either of those,
no,
so we can certainly, you can stay in the one we consider. If you're gonna put those on hold.
Always better to err on the side of caution.
Absolutely.
yeah, that's what I did, you know, I was brand new
Absolutely.
counselor, I wanted to make sure that I
Absolutely.
did the right thing. and-
Yep.
But, you know, I didn't need to. It wasn't even close, actually.
And I also met with legal about Eric Schwab, and I shouldn't have accused you first. And
Okay,
the counselors are learning.
yep, no, you know.
Yeah.
You gotta check with ethics or law, and if they say you're fine, then you're fine for the next meeting.
Did everybody take their ethics and test and all that stuff? The certificates?
Yeah, that's one.
We didn't have to, I don't think we had to. right?
No,
Yeah, there's no way for me to take a copy.
Yeah,
I did mine for the fire districts.
yeah.
So you have to rely on
Speaking of that, I had a meeting.
or reaching out to the chairs. to
No,
make
we're
orders.
just, we just have to come up with our new meeting time.
Okay,
You have to reach out to.
you
the
guys want to
chairs.
rush, I can just go with you.
Well, what's good for you for meeting next week?
Oh,
Oh, I'm not, if you don't want to do it next week.
no, I don't know, any days, they're all, I'll work around everybody else, just like with these ad hocs. I'll leave you this. You guys pick what's good for you.
Are we looking for another meeting?
I'll put myself there.
I come up at 3:30 if we can get here.
Next Wednesday?
But what was it that was in here today? Wasn't there something?
It was supposed to be what you were watching out there, but.
No, the housing was supposed to be in here,
Oh.
but then there was a demand because they hadn't been meeting in a year to put it in the hearing room and to televise it, so I think that's what.
So what does next Wednesday look like on the calendar?
Here,
Is that June, isn't that the fourth, are we
you
meeting?
talking the fifth, June fifth?
We have that committee is June fourth, isn't it? The ad
June
hoc?
fourth is the rules committee,
Let's
from
do
five
that. I
to
mean,
six.
Well, that's why we slotted like 3 to 5. We just-
How about this?
So they have to make it up 5.
Yeah, why don't we, Cindy's gonna manage the people, as she always does, so really, and if she can't get people to come before 5, then we don't have to post a date.
Let me know, just text
Days,
me.
but we can say,
Next Wednesday.
you know, we
Yeah,
can
let me
start,
know.
if you need to start a little later, or 6.
But it's more on consideration.
What I'm saying is, if there's no need to be considerate, because everybody, then we can do it. But if we need to be considerate, then we do what's good. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just like, you're flexible with what the people need.
And the fact of the matter is, look,
And,
we do have last year.
Yeah.
And so that's why I said we do at 3:30, set it up at 3:30.
Oh, yeah.
And then if people can come after 5, you can push it.
And what date are we talking?
Wednesday?
The fifth? At 3:30?
Yeah.
June fifth, okay. For those of you that are on the town council rules committee, you have that meeting on the fourth, Tuesday from 5 to 6.
Yeah.
Appointments will be at 3:30 the next day. And
I haven't got any notice about this one.
that's because the people aren't confirmed yet by the
Oh,
town
okay.
council. As soon as they're confirmed on June sixth, then your meetings will start.
Okay.
We had a meeting about you.
The whole committee is just a council, so that you don't have to. Second reading.
Yeah, there's 5 committees, 2 have residents, 3 do not. All right, so Wednesday, June fifth is your next appointments committee meeting at 3:30 in the afternoon. And I'll reach out to the Board of Health and to the ZBA individuals.
And if for some reason you can't get people to come at 3:30 and they need to come later because of working, we could maybe shift it to 4.
Okay. I'll get a feel for the
Yeah.
individuals
I
that will
mean, we want to
schedule.
make sure that they can come, but
Yeah.
if they can come early, then we can get it done, you know.
I would think that it's just-
Okay, now you
We can
just
always
have
debate.
all these meeting
Yeah.
minutes. Did you guys want to approve those?
Sure.
The meeting minutes, I didn't put May's on there because this is overwhelming for you guys. So I didn't include May's, but I'll put those on the next one, because we'll get 2 sets for May.
You can see the overwhelm on their face.
So you just need a motion to accept the meeting minutes of April 17th, April 23rd, April 24th, and April 30th. As written.
Second.
All those in favor? All right. I will get everybody in. Did you have any public comments since you weren't here in the very beginning?
No, not now.
No good things to say?
Well, no good or bad.
Well, we'll take the bad, Larry.
I see a much better flow from you guys.
We'll take the bad.
You're modifying your questions and
A much better what?
Flow.
modifying your questions and flowing much better.
That's good to start with, so.
In the beginning, because you guys were all new members, Larry found trying to find it very confusing because it was all scattered with trying to find out new information. So that's why he's saying it's flowing better now. They're getting in their groove.
Thank you.
Yes.
The ad hocs really got us going.
Yeah, we had a lot of practice with
Now you just need a motion to move.
second.
All those in favor? You are adjourned at 5:30.
I put my